Okay. Yeah, we have to start now. Thankfully, setup is complete. Thank the Lord. I think one person should come over here so that it's balanced there. Like one person here, one person at the side. Instead of one side. Thank you. Yeah, instead of both of you in one side. Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. You can come closer if you don't mind. Or you want to touching you. Hey, fan is not touching you. Oh, are you sure? Alright. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's respond. Okay. I'm really sorry that we are starting out late. You know, technology, it has this way of always messing you up. But with God, all things are possible. So good evening to our online audience and good evening to our on-site audience. I'm so glad that we were able to make it to today's edition of Mutation monthly series. So for those who are meeting me for the first time, my name is God's Delight Agu and I'm very passionate about mental health. And it's not a choice. It's an assignment. So let's put it that way. It's an assignment that God has given me. So don't be offended when I mention God because I just said my name is God's Delight. What does that say? I'm God's Delight and my parents are pastors as well. So the God thing is already in my blood. So before we start, I think we should just do a short prayer. Just so that we reference God. This is not a religious program, but I just think it's important my faith, I'm a Christian, so I believe we should invite God. Studio, confirm my sound is okay. Is it okay? It's okay. Okay, perfect. In Jesus' name, Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. I reverence your name because you are good. You're worthy to be praised. You're worthy to be glorified. I thank you for bringing us together to Mutation monthly series. Lord, as many people that you've destined to be partakers of this session, I ask, Lord, that you bring them here. Lord, whether they are joining physically or they are joining virtually, Lord, bring them and let them be partakers of whatever you've prepared for us today. In Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. Amen. So this is supposed to be a conversation. But before I get into it, because this is the first ever Mutation monthly series we are having, I have to start by defining the terms that you might be confused about. So let's have a mutation. So mutation means a sudden change in the DNA. It's a biology term. So when, let's say, let me give a random example. I'm a black girl, an African woman. I get married to an African man, and I have a child that is an Asian. You'll know that something happened. So that's a mutation. That's what mutation is. So a sudden change, like you cannot trace it, you cannot trace the DNA, but it just happens. So the idea behind the mutation series is that when we come together to have these conversations, there's a sudden change in our DNA. We are transformed, we are changed, and we become better people. So it's beyond the physical transformation. This one is more deep rooted. This one has to do with your DNA. You know, when something comes down to your DNA, it is very serious. So that's what mutation is all about. And by God's grace, this will be a monthly series, like I already mentioned, and this is January edition. So today we'll be talking about traumas. And we'll try as much as possible to make sure that this class is very conversational. um, we'll try to make sure that everyone contributes to the conversation. I'm not just doing the talking alone. We'll all talk and we'll learn together. So, what exactly is trauma? We're going to be asking ourselves the question: what exactly is trauma? Who can trauma affect? What are the different types of trauma? What are the effects of trauma? Have you heard of PTSD? What is PTSD? How does one cope with trauma? How can one heal from trauma? These are all the questions that we'll be answering in this conversation by God's grace. So the Mutation monthly series, like I said before, is a monthly series, and by November we'll be having Mutation 25, which is focused on healing. God wants us to heal. Like we have to heal from all our traumas, all our pains, all our baggages. So before we get into Mutation 25 healing, we need to start knowing what exactly do we want to heal from. And today we are talking about traumas, the very, very beginning. We're talking about traumas. And I'm a storyteller. I love to tell stories. I believe stories are ways we communicate. Stories are ways we transmit information from one generation to the other. And since I'm a storyteller, it's only natural I tell my own stories. I mean, I wouldn't be telling someone else's story without their permission. The only story I can tell is mine. So I've unfortunately been in a lot of trauma in my very short life on earth. I turned 25 in November, so I'm really young. I'm a baby. And in this very short time that I've been on earth, I've seen quite a lot. And I feel it's because I'm on an assignment to have this kind of conversation. If somebody doesn't like it, she can come forward. She don't mind. Yes. If everything is set up. Okay. So the very first story I'll be talking about is the very first trauma I had in my lifetime. That was when I was 4 years old and I got sexually abused at 4. I'm 25 now, so that means that was 21 years ago. So my abuser was an older child in the church. There's a reason why I'm telling this story. Because most times when we talk about sexual violence or sexual abuse, people paint these pictures of maybe someone that is high and mighty that is coming to pin you down and rape you and things like that. It's not always that way. Sexual violence comes in different forms, and I mean people of the same gender can actually abuse someone. Okay. So my abuser was an older child in church, and my parents were pastors at the time. My parents were leaders in the same church too, and this abuse continued for years. And the thing about abuse is, once you have been sexually abused, I like to tell my friends that it's like there's a mark on your head, or there's something that shows people that this one is a victim. So anybody who is a pedophile, once they see you, they can spot you. They know that this one is an easy prey for us to mess up with, and they do their thing. And when these things happened, I couldn't talk to anyone, and I always blamed myself for everything. I thought it was my fault. I had no feeling of self-worth, like I lost it completely. I thought I was good for nothing. I was doing very terrible in school. I hated people. I was afraid of people. I still struggle with like embracing people because I'm like, I'm trying to outweigh some of those things, but this is what trauma does to you. So at the age of 7, I got raped by a neighbor's son. And this experience was one that I locked up in my mind for, like, I deleted it. So the file I deleted for a very long time. So the thing about trauma is that your brain has this way of trying to ease pain. So it takes away some files. I 2 weekends ago, please remember the event we attended where the woman talked about her daughter who does not remember the death of our husband? That's what Trump likes. This particular file was locked up for years. Like I threw it away in my brain till one day it all came rushing back. And I was taken to the hospital when this happened, but the doctors did not see. They said I had a convulsion, and I could not tell anyone what happened. I had nightmares. I couldn't sleep at night. My taste bud was messed up. There was no food I could eat that felt or tasted good to me. Everything tasted bland to me. I was doing very badly in school. Very, very badly. I could not concentrate, so I was a terrible student. I was depressed. So children can get depressed too. And I was suicidal as well. I just wanted to, there was a day I attempted suicide. I just wanted to throw myself into a well and end it all. And I thought I was the only one going through this. I kept asking myself, why me? Why me? Why is this happening to me? But unfortunately, according to statistics, it says that 1 in 3 girls are sexually abused before the age of 18, and 1 in 5 boys are sexually abused before the age of 18. And child sexual abuse is a very, very, very traumatic event. And many victims, they never get past the trauma for the rest of their lives. So that was trauma number one. Let's label it that. On to trauma number two. When I entered secondary school, I became, my abusers were no longer there. I was trying to put my life together. So when I entered this secondary school, a Christian secondary school, I felt that, okay, this is my time to be a good child. And I tried my best to be good. And I was good. First year, I got best behaved student, and I was proud of myself. I was working hard academically. And by the time I left secondary school, I graduated best graduating students. That was in 2016. So my teachers and my colleagues, they had very high hopes, around me. I wanted to study medicine. Does this sound familiar? Anyone wants to study medicine? Yeah, you know. But in my case, it's different because I want to become the best psychiatrist Nigeria has ever had. I still want to become that. I'm not that yet. I did well in my WAEC, just 2 A's, 1 C, and 6 B's. So I remember that particular day, my friend Divine Favor and I went to the cyber cafe to check our, when you are writing jam, you're checking, what's that thing called again? Admission list. I think that's what it's called. I'm old school now. I can't really remember. Is it admission list? They say first list is out, second list is out. It's admission list, right? Yes. So we went to check. So that year I applied to University of Ibadan. My friend applied to, I can't really remember her first choice, but I know she switched over to ABSU. And the list came out, she gained the admission. And I did not. And it was painful because I was the second highest scorer in JAM in my class. So the best student had 313 and mine was 271. And I didn't get admission. And that was the only list the University of Ibadan released. So that automatically meant I had to spend a year at home. And imagine what that meant for someone who was a best graduating student. Yeah, traumatized. Trust me. I was 21 is not a yes, I was optimistic that this was going to be what it didn't. Except I no jam again. I solved past question what I was angry about. I thought that the baby not too sick. And I didn't get with one. God, I'll give me admission. So that year, I really had about my second choice. This time around, I had second choice, and I went for my solo for you. I TME. I went to TME supplementary course. I went to my federal university in Fadi Kipo. If anyone knows it, but it's a school there, and I bought supplementary for that. You cannot admit me. After 12%, 12 over yes, maybe. Then I asked my money for this game. So that meant I was going to spend 2 years at school. It's the best graduate. So by the third year, 2018, my mates were now in 300 level. And I was still writing them. They will come back, feeling so high and mighty. They are now undergraduates and teenager whites. Think I was best graduate student. And my self confidence was really low. I wondered, what is life on first? What have I ever done? If it's working hard, why is this happening to me? So 2018, I wrote that was the day. And unlike the previous year, it was, I think it was around 2015, 2016 that they introduced CBT, JAM, computer based test. Unfortunately for me, the computer I was working with suddenly had issues. So imagine me that JAM 2 times. Because please, I used to take me to another, and they're like, wait, calm down. I said, calm down. This is my third time writing this exam. And then the people around me were like, if it does not want to say next year, you go. I said, next year. This is my third time writing. Are you two kidding me? Like it was not funny. And it was 10 minutes to 10. Minutes against me. No, that was just being at home, seeing your colleagues come back, or graduates, and you're still at home and you are the best graduating student with your high jump score. You know, fast forward to 2018. So when I scored 294, I applied to the University of Port Harcourt, and it was my parents' choice. And I was like, okay, at this point, I don't care anything that they are doing. No wahala. But instead of medicine, I got pharmacy. So I gained admission to study pharmacy in 2018. At the time, I was like, my dream is to be a psychiatrist too. I don't understand this one. My cousin convinced me, pharmacy is a good cause, there's some opportunities, it's even better than medicine. I'm like, okay, cool, let's see how it goes. I don't want to stay at home again because it's a professional course, so let's see. So I went ahead to study pharmacy. And the scam they all tell us that enter school first, when you reach 200 level, you will what? You will change departments. Has anyone heard that story before? You can switch when you reach 200 level. So they give you plant science or animal biology. So don't worry, once you switch to medicine, I heard that story too, and I was like, yes, I can do it. So I worked really hard. My first semester results were 7 A's and 1 B. First semester year one, so my CGPA was 4.86, and my second semester I did well too. And by the end of year one, how do I now switch the situation? So I continued. I entered second year, and thanks to COVID-19, because my second year was in 2020, we went on a 1 year vacation. I came back to school to write exams, so I failed. And that's like the first time I'm failing in a really long time. So I failed a one credit uni course. Failing that course meant what? I was going to repeat a year, because that's the way pharmacy school operates. And I couldn't imagine it. Like I said, 4.86 CGPA, I was among the top, at least, let's be modest, top 5 in my class. And I couldn't imagine being in 200 level while my colleagues were in 300, even though I was top 5 as a first and second year. So my self confidence was destroyed. You know, I got depressed, and I decided to take a break. I needed to take a break from everything. So I left and I took a break. That's trauma number what? 3. Trauma number 4. In 2020, COVID-19 year, I fell in love. So I was so sure that I've met the love of my life. You know, I was so certain, I was so sure that this was the person I was going to grow old with. You know, and it was my spec. Like, you know, when you have your spec, like, okay, there are no ladies here, but I believe men have specs too now. Yes, there's something you see in a woman. Some men like women with, you know, figure 8 and all of that, fair, tall, whatever. He was my spec. You know, ticked all my boxes, and for some reasons I thought I could not live without him. And relationship, I let my dad down, you know, did a couple of things that contradicted my faith in God, you know, simply because I loved this person, or I thought I loved him, and I thought he loved me too. So after a couple of months, inconsistency started, ghosting me for days, ignoring my calls, coming back and acting as if nothing happened. And then when you try to point out what's happening, they will just act like you are such an unforgiving soul. You don't want to. Why are you talking about these things? Move on. You know, it was not like I was the mad person. So we'll break up, and I will go back and wake up, and break up and make up and break up and make up and break up and make up. And this cycle continued for 4 years. Yeah. So I was in this relationship from 2020 till 2024 last year. So the lie I believed was that nobody could ever love me the way he did. Remember where I'm coming from, trauma number 1. Coming from a place of being abused and just all those things, they were still there. And I felt no one can love me like he does. And he actually grew me, you know, conditioned me to believe that that's actually what it is. Unfortunately for me, I did not know I was in that relationship alone. So fast forward to when I met my friend Amaka. Unfortunately, she's not here, and I feel so sad about it. She was the one that had to open my eyes to the fact that I was all like, oh, yeah. She had to open my eyes to that, and at that point I was tired, and I had to break up with him. A few months after I broke up with him, there's someone in my DM telling me how she is my boyfriend's girlfriend and how they've been together for X number of they've known each other X number of years, and they dated for X number of years. She even got pregnant for him. She just had an abortion. And I'm like, whoa. No, the reason why she reached out was she saw my story. Because in 2020, one of the biggest things that's transformed my life from 2020 up till now is that in 2020 I read the book Becoming by Michelle Obama. You know Michelle Obama, former president's wife, USA. And when I read Becoming, Michelle Obama said, I think in like the first or second chapter of the book, your story is what you have, what you always have. It is something to own. I'll say it again. Your story is what you have, what you always have. It is something to own. And when I read that, it was so powerful to me because these experiences I'm sharing on this stage today are my unique experiences. They are not yours. Yours is yours, mine is mine. So all I can do is to own my story. Like it has happened, it has happened. This is my life. Is it terrible? Yes, it is. What can we do about it? I don't know. It has happened. I'm owning my story. So I've been on that journey since 2020 of consciously owning my story. So for some reason, she stumbled on a piece I had written about my ex, and that was why she reached out. So she wanted to know if the things I said were true, and I told her yes, they were. So at the time she was reaching out to me, they were still together, and you don't want to imagine how I felt because my ex told his girlfriend that I was only his friend and his reading partner, and I never asked me out. For someone I spent 4 years with, that was crazy. When I, it's something for someone to say something, and it's another thing for someone to actually get evidences to back up every one of their claims. And this lady had evidences to back up everything. And at that point, I knew that, wow, never in a million words would I think that someone I loved, was that kind of a person. Trauma number 4. So in those 4 years, I remember all the several times I turned down, potential suitors because I was in a serious relationship with someone that said I was his reading partner, a friend, and he never asked me out. So what is trauma? What is trauma? What is trauma? Trauma is an emotional response that lasts long after an event occurs, and it causes significant mental and physical stress. Trust me, when the event happened, like when the actual incident happened, the most recent one, on that particular day, I wanted to just like stand, let the ground swallow me, like no one is even here. Okay, like let the ground just open and swallow, like let it swallow me because what am I doing standing? Like the ground suddenly felt very soft on ah, but there's a way out. There's healing from trauma. These are my stories, and I believe that everyone here, we all have our own different shares of trauma as well. And I feel like I want to hear some stories. If you're open to sharing, I mean, why not? So I've told 4 of my own stories. I think there's a mic. If anyone wants to share, they can share. Because, like I said today, your story is what you have, what you always have. It is something to own. And on the journey to healing from your traumas, the very first step is what? Owning your story. But if anyone does not want to share, that's totally fine as well. There's no um anyone. Okay, let's clap for our brother. Thank you. I welcome. Okay.
Okay, I can see, right? Okay, so thanks for sharing. You without talking, sharing the relationship aspect. Yeah, yeah. Uh, really partner is serious, seriously, like really partner. Guys, well, you know, come on. Each and every one of us has passed through a lot, and a lot has passed through us as well. And so I will share my. I have a lot, but okay, let me just try and make it. Let me take let me just take my number three out of there. That would be my transitioning from. I studied engineering in school, and of course, I did dream to end up in this oil engineering firm. I never relate into the engineering school, have this mindset. Though right from time in school, I have been good with sales. I can talk to person one on one, I can close the deals. That's like basically after engineering. So even when I finished, I graduated, I had that strong need to sell, but in my mind is after engineering work I was still finally land. So fast forward, NYSC, inside come. So God be the glory, I was made platoon leader in my platoon. So under the platoon leader they are seeing the network to build. So I had two PPAs. One was in Huawei phones. Yeah, and another one was in that solar panel something like that in Abuja. So I would choose to work in Huawei. So normally I get it Huawei, you know that is an amazing company, they are well known globally in this. So the dream was to be with him. So I worked myself up. I if it's a big, I'll say yes, if it's a big, come on, I'll tell you it's a how fast you are. If they fly, I say how far do you want me to fly? So that was like the dream. And guess what? After one day, I was actually dream. Yeah, I'll be ashamed. To the glory of God, the starting salary of 180,000. This was as of this was 2019. Yeah. So 180,000 naira for a young guy that just finished university and how to start life was huge. My mom was just doing charity and giving and that kind of stuff. So when I forgot, something happened. I was there's one way they don't really employ you straight. You do a contract staff, the work you call in every so we do the projects where we are going to lay fiber optics or the fiber optic department, we're going to lay fiber optic from Abuja to Meduguri. Yeah, so it was a very huge problem. Sorry, a very huge project. So I was quite excited. So when it was the road ago, we had a small issue. We needed the light of rain. right of way, we can't work on federal road without right of way, and National Assembly we are only the one really um doing that condition. So what happened? Within that period, National Assembly went to the meetings. I did not understand the English then. I thought it was like don't get the permission. So my suggestion like no like see the foreigners this Chinese we don't want to waste money. So government everything have to just suspend the project and everybody have to project for them suspended. Everybody. So like so every day I'm coming to work and I'm saying if I get to talk for national assembly on holidays, it's not a country. I'm saying okay. So what next? It's okay. When to get permission to start work. I said okay. I'll come. 1 month, National Assembly on holidays. 2 months, National Assembly on holidays. Hey, I don't know what I'm doing for. I don't know for. Are you been in that loop where you like
But within that time, were they paying salaries?
nothing shishi shishi. So when you said that we told your mom, we told them, okay, so this is the contract, I'm giving this all, I'm giving you get 108 pounds, I'm saying. So I actually almost said, don't worry, I'm coming for you, don't worry, don't see nothing. That kind of mother believe like, okay, good, you feel me, right? Okay, so I was frustrated. And I said, I can't stay like this. There is nothing happening. Like literally, I will just stand still. I said no. I can't be here, and it was out of frustration. Being thank God for God, I had some savings. Imagine the savings I did in NYC. Now, to study the trade after if they don't have hope of okay, that's something to come in. So I had to leave. I just want to just leave. So now with your whole culture and everything, like, but mind you're listening and time you get. So I now had to leave and fall back to sales that I used to get out. So that was how I actually joined the sales training and I started field sales 1.5 hours session. So that was a very big trauma coming from the point of this is where the situation is coming from and down to this and to today. If I hear national team that's what I guy. So I never did tell my coach actually portray that way. So very nice. So that's just what I want to share now.
Wow, thanks for sharing. Thank you. A round of applause for him. Thank you so much. Thank you. Does anyone else want to share? It sounds funny as he's saying it, but I know that time, it will be funny. Like, I know that feeling. Big boy, you just graduated NYSC, 180K. All right. I think no one else wants to share. No one else. All right, that's fine. Thank you so much for sharing. So trauma affects two parts of our brain. I'm a science student, so pardon me, medical inclined student. And the first part is called the amygdala. This is the part of your brain that controls emotions. It controls your emotions. It's where your feelings, that's where it is. So when trauma occurs, this part of your brain becomes overly amused, like it's excited, it's hypervigilant because it's trying to protect you from danger. And over time, it will start to raise false alarm. So that's why you see some people, after they've experienced a form of trauma, there are a lot of things that might remind them of something like that, and just at the sight or feel of that, they begin to react as if they are being traumatized again. It's that part of the brain that does that. Another part is a hippocampus. So this is part of your brain that holds memories. And when you're traumatized, this part of the brain might not recognize the difference between your present reality and your past. That's where you see people getting flashbacks of what has happened to them before. It keeps playing out over and over again. And when you come to traumas, we have the big T and the small T trauma. Like what he said now, to someone else, they might be like, what's this? Is this really something? Maybe the only traumas people might think are bigger, like relationship, rape. But I mean, everybody, what affects everybody, our reactions are very, very different. The way we react to pain is different. So there are the big things and there are the small things. So when we talk about big things, let's think of something like a natural disaster. Let's just imagine, God forbid, that Lagos, something happens in Lagos and everything just, is it an earthquake they call it? The way we see it in movies, all the houses just tumble inside each other and we are sinking into the ground. If that happens, that's a natural disaster and it's very traumatizing. I think there was a recent natural disaster that happened abroad. We see Los Angeles, there was a fire outbreak and people just properties worth millions. I saw one video where a man has like millions of dollars worth of property and he was running mad because these are years of sweat and all of a sudden it's all gone and it's not anybody's fault. You cannot arrest anybody for that. Boko Haram, one Boko Haram, I think there's still Boko Haram, but like that kind of disaster is very, very traumatizing. Think of Chibok girls. It's been how many years since those girls were adopted? Not all of them are back. Imagine how traumatized they feel. Think of something like sexual abuse, something like an accident. Imagine you just wake up one day, you are stepping out, you have an accident, you lose both of your legs, or you get blind. It's very traumatizing, no matter who it happens to. Physical abuse, someone just beating you like a drum can be very traumatizing. We have things that are little, things like loss of a pet, breakup. To some, they might not really think it's such a big deal. Why to some is a big deal. So these are all the two major buckets that trauma fall into. But then we have some types: childhood and parental trauma. I'm going to list them and I'm going to talk about them individually. Childhood and parental trauma. A lot of us are victims of this one. Childhood and parental trauma. We have sexual trauma, we have relationship trauma, and we have religious trauma. So when it comes to childhood and parental trauma, it's not everyone that is born into a family where there is love and there is harmony. Some are born into all kinds of things, all kinds of things. Yeah, some are born into polygamous families where everybody's fighting. Some are born into families where one parent does not care about you, or one parent is sitting on the other parent, and for that they're always fighting. And as a child, you are seeing all these things, and you think it's not affecting you. Wait till you grow up, wait till you become an adult, like we are all adults now, and you will start seeing the patterns playing out in your life. So you might see yourself, you now begin to avoid commitments, relationships, because you are scared that this person might start cheating on me like my father was cheating on my mother. Or, that thing has already written a script in your brain, so you're now trying to defend yourself. And one thing about trauma is that you always develop a coping mechanism. You will develop something to help you survive that pain. Like I mentioned earlier, one of the coping mechanisms I had was deleting the memory from my brain, just taking it out. That's a coping mechanism, keeping to myself, avoiding people, not wanting to relate to people. So, childhood and parental trauma, it impacts us. There's something called attachment styles. I don't know if you've heard about it. But if you've not, I'll try to explain it briefly. An attachment style. Oh, I think someone should Google it here. You can Google it and read it out. And there are different attachment styles. But an attachment style, if you have it, you can read to us. It developed within the first at least 5 years of a child's life. So those first 5 years, the kind of love that your primary caregiver, like the first person you have in common, for most people is their mother. That's their primary caregiver. If they are showing them conditional love all their life, they are going to be looking for conditional love because they feel it's normal. If you are showing them unconditional love, they will seek it. So a lot of us fall under this childhood and parental trauma, and this is the stage where you develop your self-esteem. Do you have it? Okay. Can you read to us? I think you should give her a mic.
Thank you. Attachment styles and the roles they play in relationship is a widespread topic of interest both in research and in people's personal drive to understand their pattern of thoughts and behavior. This level of interest is entirely understandable as the different attachment styles in relationship can impact interpersonal interactions in unique ways.
Okay, so search what are attachment styles. This one is introducing attachment styles. Search what are attachment styles. If anyone else has it, can read to us. So this morning, there's a church beside my house, and I was just at home and I saw this woman beating a child, insulting her. You're an idiot. I think the child was okay. You have it, yeah. So on.
There are four of them here. You have secure attachments, avoidant attachments, dismissive avoidance, and anxious attachment.
Okay, thank you. But it does not still define who has definition. All the definition of attachment styles. Who can search that? But those are the types of attachment styles. Now all of us in this room, we all have the one we fall into. Mr. Victor, you're welcome. Anyone? What are attachment styles? So this woman was beating her child and shouting at her, "You're an idiot." This one, I was like, why is this woman doing this? Because children, a child is often said that children are a tabula rasa, like you are a plain sheet. And once you are born, whatever your parents, the action, whatever they are doing is inscribing on you, it's writing things on you. And you grow up and you see yourself behaving a certain way. And you're wondering, oh, what is happening? Why am I acting like this? Why am I even the way we interact with people, if you are loud or you are quiet, also has a lot to do with your upbringing. If you grow up in a family where you are loud and they're telling you, shut up, shut up, before you know it, that's how you end up being. Before you know it, you end up like, do you have it? Okay, let him read to us.
Attachment theory is the physiology and evolutionary framework concerning the relationship between humans, particularly the importance of early bond between infants and their primary
Caregiver, very good. That relationship between an infant and their primary caregiver will impact the rest of your life. So when we talk about childhood and parental trauma, all of us are victims of this one. All of us, in one way or the other. Because your parents don't know that woman that I saw this morning does not know that calling her daughter idiots. She does not know if she's verbally abusing that child. And tomorrow, the child will keep looking for people that will verbally abuse them, if not physically abuse her. And she'll feel like it's normal. I mean, my mom does that to me. She will not see anything wrong with that. As a woman, sometimes women end up attracting men like their fathers. And If your father is abusive to your mom, you might end up attracting someone who is abusive to you. Even as a man, men always like women that like their mothers or women that remind them of their mothers. So, so this you see how important this thing is. So it can lead to low self-esteem, the tendency to engage in risky behaviors, addiction, anxiety, learning disabilities. There are so many consequences of parental and childhood trauma. It can be in form of physical abuse, like your parents will beat you till the point where your whole body you have bruises, your eye is swollen, and they'll tell you I'm beating you because I love you. So tomorrow you want people that will beat you because they love you and you don't see anything wrong with it because it's your upbringing. So we're all victims of parental and childhood. If you can think deeply about your childhood, you will see points or parts where you feel like my people should have done better. Or if I was not raised this way, maybe I would have not, you know. There's a podcast I respect so much, an entrepreneur. I listened a lot to him last year. Diary of a CEO, Simon Bartlett. And he always says it on his podcast that his mom is a Nigerian, his dad is a British. And while growing up, he always saw his mom shouting at his dad. And they lived in the UK, and he's like Nigerian women. So he has this image of Nigerian women as like crazy women. They're always shouting at their husband. And his dad is white, a UK, a Britain one that is white, that you always sit down and he will not talk. So his image of Nigerian women are like crazy women, and he's scared of any kind of commitment. He was a successful entrepreneur, doing very well, but he's so scared of commitment because he does not want to imagine a life where he has a woman who is always screaming over his head, because that is the picture of relationships that he saw all his life. Trauma will affect your relationships with people. When I say relationship, I do not mean romantic relationship or boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife. No, I'm talking about relationships, even in like friendships. Last year was one hell of a year for me. I could see patterns in my relationships with people, like my friendships. Like I could actually see the kind of friends I was attracting and why I was attracting them, because they reminded me of something in my childhood. So as much as I felt I was awoken, I'm no better, I still end up attracting toxic people into my life because they kind of reminded me of where I came from, because I felt I needed that toxicity. Now these things are not conscious, trust me. You don't even know they are happening. They are not conscious at all. You don't even know. But if you take time to sit down and ask yourself questions and see patterns in your life, you will see that, why is this person my friend? Like you ask yourself that question, and this other person too, and this one, and this one, and you will see that there is a similarity, there is a reason why you keep attracting the same kind of people. And this is where the terminology, reparenting yourself, that's where that comes from. So yes, you are now an adult, you've grown, but then there are parts of your childhood that do not make sense, that you want to change or you want to make better. So this is where you consciously have to tell yourself, your inner child, bro, I'm sorry that you were not loved, but you don't need to keep running around people that don't love you. You have that conversation with yourself. And I mean, today's session is not about your inner child or attachment styles, but these are all conversations we eventually have as time goes on, by the grace of God. They'll talk about sexual trauma. It's not only girls that get sexually abused too. It's not only girls that get raped. In 2017, I had a friend who told me a story about sexual abuse. From a very young age, maybe like age 7 or so, his aunt was sexually abusing him. She was sexually abusing him, and his mom was not aware. And this went on for so many years. and he grew up, he was so angry, he had so much anger in him. And he did something to her, like he sent boys to her to like hurt her in a way because of anger, vengeance. And that's not the only guy I've come in contact with that talks about sexual. There's a story of, see, when I was in Uniport, a guy too that told me stories of his senior sister's friends that always come to the house and abuse him. So sexual trauma can happen to anyone. And most times I feel like men, people will often be like, oh, didn't you enjoy it? Like, they feel like as a guy, you can't come out and say I was raped or I was abused because guy, what you they talk now. So this is it. Men's mental health, we don't care about it. But when a woman comes and says she was raped, people feel sorry for her. But sometimes men are raped too, men are sexually abused too. Nobody talks about it. Sexual trauma is very common. Like I mentioned earlier, 1 in 3 girls, 1 in 5 boys. Very, very common. And it impacts you the way you see some men, even women that are addicted to sex today. It springs from childhood. When you have been abused, you feel that everybody is now a tool and a toy, an object to you. You don't even regard anyone. It springs from childhood. Your sexual trauma. Even if you go on to get married or you are in a committed relationship, you end up abusing the people that you think you love. Relationship trauma. This one, I know we've all been there. Or have we not? Has anyone been there? Where you be in a relationship and you are all alone, you don't know, the other person does not know that they are dating you, and you are the only one in the relationship. Or crazy things happen, and trust me, those people that do those things, it's still about the same conversation we're having. Trauma. They have been traumatized. If you look back and see it now, look critically at their life, their childhood, they've been traumatized and they've not found healing. And the best way they think it's to just do is to traumatize other people, because misery loves company. Because I'm traumatized, I have so much negative energy inside me. What I want to do is give it out to everybody. Everybody should collect. I'm dishing it out to everyone. Religious trauma. Some people have religion have traumatized some people. God help us. So it's serious. My parents are pastors, so I know these things. Things that happen in the house of God. But I've actually come with a message of hope today. The fact that you were traumatized or you have been traumatized, it's not the end of your life. It's not the end. You can stand up and you can stand up and be strong. You can heal again. Like you can. I don't know, how do I say this? Says it's even good that you have been putting. Okay, I don't mean it in a literal sense, but if you're able to make use of the trauma, you will actually become a better person. How do I know? I broke up with my ex June last year, and between then and now, I've grown so much. I've taken my emotional and mental health seriously. Like I've taken time to really understand myself, and the reason why I attracted someone like him. And that was what led me to even see the kind of friends I have around me. Why are these people my friends? What purpose are they serving in my life? And if it did not happen, if the breakup never happened, those things will not have happened. I will never have that consciousness, because life will be all rosy. I meet the love of my life. I marry, have children, traumatize my children. I will keep moving. There's a national trauma. Trauma that is not even your own. Your mother's trauma, your father's trauma, your grandmother, great grand aunt, and to start manifesting in your life. I'm not saying it as a pastor or anything, but they'll start showing off. Some people right from time they're always depressed and they don't know why they are depressed. They cannot pinpoint why am I always feeling depressed. Some of them they've not even had any traumatic experience per se. It might be generational trauma. There's research that shows that people that have been if you've been traumatized, it hides in parts of your body. It can hide under your bone, your muscle, wherever. And when you have offspring, when you have children, it transmits to them. So the reason why healing is very important. We have to heal from whatever kind of trauma we have, whatever kind of trauma we've experienced. We need to find healing. And healing is possible. Healing is possible. Because if you don't find healing, you end up having children that you traumatize, children traumatize other children, and the trauma continues. And we keep living in a world full of what? Trauma. And let me tell you the truth. If you are carrying a baggage of trauma, you cannot make money. I'm saying it like, for real, you can't be as successful as you think you want to be. Because those things, they hold you back. It's a mindset something. They hold you back. You can't even see them. But the reason why we are having this mutation series is so that we can have these conversations. We can look at our life. We can sit down and ask ourselves, in what way have I been traumatized? In what way have I been traumatized? And how do I go about finding healing? How can I heal from trauma? So at this point, I want to put the mic to the floor for any questions or contributions or curiosity or suggestions or anything, stories. Do we have anything to share? If it's a question, I think this is the time for us to take that. Trauma is something we should talk about, and it's something our society does not like to talk about. Trauma is part of the reason why Nigeria is not overlooked. If we don't know, we need to know it today, because most of your leaders are traumatized, and then they end up traumatizing us, and we keep traumatizing each other. We are not moving forward. Think about the advanced world. Think about first world countries. Think about the USA, Canada, UK. See how things move for them, and think about how they pay attention to their mental health, how they go for therapy. But think about us. We don't go for therapy. We don't assess our mental health. When you talk about psychiatry or someone went to a psychiatric hospital, God forbid, our streets is full of mentally ill people. We are comfortable with it, and guess what is affecting us? But people that take this thing seriously, at least to that extent, their life is better. I think we should turn that off. Okay, thank you. So this is time for sharing. I want us to see mutation series is conversations. Trust me. As we have more sessions, I think we feel more free. But I really want to hear everyone. What do you think about trauma? Or what do you know about trauma? Or do you have any questions or anything you just want to chip in?
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, so you have spoken a lot. There are two things I actually pick out. The aspects that you said, people, when somebody is actually traumatized and he's so pumped up to do this and that he feels like nobody is supposed to feel like this. And the way he thinks is best to release himself is to give every other person to
The
collect.
drama. Yes, you go collect.
You get. So I think that's a very rampant something in Nigeria. Never go for within our environment. You get. Somebody is transfer of aggression is very common thing. When somebody in a work environment, your boss is giving you bad goals and you're a team leader, you just come in and you're just transferring it to everybody. You don't even collect the hate. You know, for example, living in the church, the pastor is really pushing, our congregation is getting you what's happening, and you are the youth president, you know, that is a cycle
Yeah.
that's usually um, we see commonly. So the best the best way I think we should able to fight this because everybody needs to be aware. You need to be aware that this is what we are going through. Because if you are not consciously aware, you will not know what happening to just like what you are seeing. Um, once you okay, you tell yourself, I like calling myself out, big calm down. Like you call yourself to order, calm down. Okay, so just what happened is not you. You just take a few seconds to breathe before you start making any rash decision. Before I came here, I was in another meeting where somebody gave it about communication. Okay, talking about communication is definitely being soft spoken. So it's whatever you say with your mouth can never be taken back, even though you know what you meant, but you have already said it. So sometimes you need to take a deep breath and kind of calm down before you the best way not to point to others. No, you are not you feel like at that moment you're trying and I'm being an English, I want to release. You will just feel free. But just a temporal solution to a permanent problem. You can't really run away from this mountain. So the best way is for you to be aware. You should yourself to the point that when you see that you know, okay, come down, take a deep breath and observe what you're happening. But the problem is that people are not able, they don't know that this is what is
So the thing is,
yeah,
most people are not self-aware. That's the
exactly.
word, self-awareness.
They are not aware.
We are not self-aware. We're not
Exactly.
self-aware.
And if you don't know that you don't know, I am not ready to know. It's not the definition of ignorance, right? Yeah. So is that boils down to stuff like this, um getting to just being conscious. You need to really be conscious about learning about your mental health, getting to understand it. So like you know when you're going overboard, you know when you're transferring to that point, you know okay, you need to stop, you need to calm down and so that's the solution to that. And the second thing also I want to point out you mentioned is yeah, when you're talking about the family
Trauma.
trauma,
Yeah.
situation whereby your dad meeting your mom and you're seeing it, or your mom is beating you and he's telling you because I love you, rather than beating you, and how do you understand love? So if your man is not beating you to that
He does
extent,
not love me.
and by default, you're attracting people of the same attitude, the same
True.
to yourself. Even your circle of friends,
Same energy.
exactly. If you're not getting that, you're not feeling loved. You get so how do we solve that too? Is still descending aware. I have a friend I talk on LinkedIn with. She's into toxic space, toxic workspace. That's what she's into. She's very advocating this back to back on her page and she just screaming it. Guy, you are not alone. Come out, join this community, let's talk about it. So you can able to know what you can do, how you can come out from such situations. So that's what she's doing and it has really helped a lot of me to know, oh, oh wow, I'm not the only person in this situation. I can solve out, come out from this problem, and there are people ready to help me. So, if, you need to, number one, you need to know that you are in that problem. So you need to identify that is the problem. Yes. So once identify that is the problem, then secondly, you need to know the right source to get some solution. You get, you say it's free, right? That is one thing that is very free, like freedom of speech. Anybody, they come and say they can give you, can give their own opinion. So they need to know the right source to really get the advice, how you can actually sort out some of these things. If you don't know the right problem as well. So if you are getting it for the right source, then of course you need to be disciplined enough to put it into practice. So that just the group I want to contribute in.
Thank you so much. So let's put our hands together for Paige. Thanks so much for your contribution. Thank you. Okay, you want to say something?
Okay, so good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Um, for me,
You hold up the mic a bit for the
okay,
audio.
for me, I have not talked about trauma. Like for me, I feel like life is happening. So I've not really come to call it trauma or something like that. So from the things you have said, so I'm beginning to connect some dots, trying to see, okay, this might be what it is. So because I know I've had a couple of experiences in my life too, and that must have also impacted my reality today, and that must have been some kind of trauma that happened even when I didn't know,
True.
probably when I was a child or something like that. So um, I mentioned something about owning your own story because whatever it is you're going through in life, you can't really give from that. You can't really come out of that situation if you have not come to the point where you own this thing. This is my story. I mean, so I can't hide from it. I cannot shy away from it. This is my reality. So you need to come to that point. So when you come to that point, probably you now start finding ways of getting out of that situation. So I think that is my takeaway. Coming to the point where this is your reality. So and you have to own it. And you don't have to be shy about it. You don't have to be this is your life. You understand? So if you don't come to that point, you might not really find solution to whatever I'm going through. So I think I'm beginning to you know connect to what you're saying. Because while I was coming, I didn't feel like I'm in a category of people that are
We all feel that way.
I didn't feel like
We all
that.
feel that way.
The convention had actually helped me to connect a couple of things. I think it was beautiful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate. Does anyone else have anything to say? Okay. Good evening. You have to hold up the mic.
Okay, like our uncle said, but you have to find the right source to get the solution to the trauma. So I won't say any bad questions to you. Where can we get the right source to pull up the trauma and get the
Okay. So you're asking a question. How can we find healing?
right of
Who? He did. Can you explain what he's saying? Do you understand the question?
where
Okay.
get the right source. Maybe I don't know how to actually solve. Yeah, know how to get okay, to be honest, the world is a global village. You get I mentioned something. Are you on LinkedIn? You have a LinkedIn page. You're not on LinkedIn. Okay. Um, yes, it's a very powerful She's big on LinkedIn as well. So okay, so the one with the global space, the way things are right now, information are not really difficult to find. YouTube has my mentor before I used to use YouTube to just watch short films, watch just enjoy to pass away time. But my mentor told me you need to be university or even need to be university. Mhm. I'm telling you that is nothing you will search on YouTube that you will not see.
I'm a very proud student of YouTube.
Yeah,
Like very, very.
yeah. So YouTube, the way it is now, there is nothing can actually for you to be nursing. So take advantage of it. Go to go in the ChatGPT, browse out something. What you want to do, ask ChatGPT. You will get they're going to direct you to your YouTube. Or better still, use Gemini AI. I'll give you that. Gemini AI is Google ChatGPT, right? And it's connected to YouTube. I don't know whether you can aware. Yeah. Gemini AI is connected to YouTube, so you can actually prompt what you want, and it's going to give you the exact video. Yes, you can say go to YouTube and get from the best um
How to use for drama.
yes, or just points. This will go to YouTube and get the exact video that speaks about what you're actually facing. Those things that have already done. You need to come out, you can actually see that video. So instead of going to YouTube itself and start searching, just give them hi, I need to do for you. Yeah, Gemini. So it's actually going to help you with that. Also, join communities. This really shall already start a community, and yeah, you get people that have experienced something you have experienced, and you get to share. And by sharing, you tend to understand that I'm not the only one
You're
in
not
this
alone.
situation. Yeah, you get, and by that, there is sense of comfort that actually comes with it. Like sharing and the person says, okay, so this is what I did, and this is the results. You can actually see it because it's a one-on-one conversation. The guy is not somewhere magically. You can only see. So the community you can join. Okay, actually give you that solution. So in guidance two, there's a way of once you now with this two, a lot can still happen. And we didn't answer the question. Okay.
Are you satisfied? Okay. Thank you. So
I also want to add, trauma itself. It's first of all, thank you, God's delight.
thank
I was,
you.
yeah. So it has been very enlightening today, and a lot of people go through traumas and they keep quiet about it. And sometimes people do speak up, but they speak to the wrong people, and because of that, they keep quiet again. And you know, going through your question, where do I get aiming from? Those channels give to you, fine, they are nice and you can get good content. But I'll tell you, it's a process. You might get there and not see exactly what you want the first time. And because human beings are unique and their needs are different. And sometimes you might have a rare case that might not show forth immediately. And but one sure thing that I know does the magic is the community of people that you come in contact with who talks about what you are actually going through. Sometimes you just bring an awareness that I'm not crazy, I'm normal, and what I'm going through is actually real. And then it gives you also a roadmap to come out of it easily. So I would say join the community. And just as she has started, the next month there'll be other sessions. Try and attend. because I think each month comes with its own packages that you can actually be a part of. And what the community actually does again is that it helps you convert whatever you might have thought is not something you should talk about. It helps you convert it into a strength to become a better version of yourself.
Yes.
And that is a big one. So, young communities, then she said, own your story. Whatever it is you have gone through, I'll tell you something. You are not the first. Somebody has gone through
And you're not
something
going to
like
be
that.
the last.
Yes, and you're not going to be the last. And going through that part is always also a roadmap to help other people who would want to make such mistakes avoid it. So be you. Don't try to be someone else. Be you. Own yourself. Be proud of yourself. And then be honest with yourself to make yourself better. I think that's my takeaway from today's session. Be honest with yourself. You know, in the sense that I know I've gone through this. Why did I go through this? You know, we're checking some things on Google and all that. So when you're honest with yourself, you own your situation and say, this is who I am, this is where I am. And you accept it first of all to take corrections and then to grow and to make amendments and adjustments. I think that's another part of it. Because there's always a reason, because she said she found out that she was attracting the wrong people to herself as a result of trauma she had gone through. So if she didn't even accept that she had traumas, if she didn't really, sometimes the society, the society can have a way of saying, sorry, but they will never try to tell you that this is where things are going wrong. Yeah, they won't try to tell you. So I personally, I have a principle. I don't like friends who tells me lies. After a while, we can't stay together. You must be able to face me and say, this thing you have done is wrong. And if you don't have such people around your circle of friends, there's something wrong. That means they will just go, talk around, and then right behind you, they can't really face you and tell you the reality of things to make you better. So owning your situation and then accepting to make the necessary adjustments to move on is a key part for you and for self-development, which we must all accept. Everyone is growing. Even the wisest person you think is so wise, that person is going at his own level too. So you too, you are growing. Everyone is growing. But you know what part of it? It is humility to accept that I need something. I need you. I need this. I need this knowledge to grow. And accepting it and growing goes a long way for all of us. So being true with yourself is my takeaway.
Thank you so much, Miss Peace. A round of applause. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything to say? I don't like that we have left our technical. I think we should give him a mic. He has not said anything since we started.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Right. So from the conversation so far and everything I've talked about, trauma, identifying it, because the truth is, when you don't know you have a problem, there's no way you're going to work on solving that problem because you don't know that problem exists. And that is one of the reasons why it's important to be in the midst of people who can point out your mistakes, what you are doing wrong, that is not normal, that you can also improve on it. That's one of the things. Because most of the time, our friends will just say, oh, yeah, they're friends, they are going around doing stuff, but we don't speak the truth to ourselves. Because I don't want to offend him. I don't want to make him feel bad. So we just cover up all the stuff that there's a need for improvement. We cover it up just not to spoil friendship. And when you're in that cycle of people, it's okay if you could like start excluding yourself from them and looking for a place, a community where you are pushed to become a better version of yourself. So once you notice that there have been, first of all, you have to like know what's that, okay, I have a problem, and you have to sit down with yourself, look at your life, your past experience, and how things have been for you, and look at some things that have not like that not the thing has not been going well so far. Like it has been repeating itself over and over again because all of us have patterns in our life. Maybe you work for work, you work for 1 year, at the end of that 1 year, there's nothing you have seen so far. Like you can't point to what you have achieved working for that 1 year. Then you say, ah, this work is very stressful. You look for another type of work again. You work for 1 year again, still nothing to write home about. Yeah, you are earning more, but still yet you have not achieved something like worthwhile. You need to like sit down with yourself and try and look at how have I, what have I been doing all this while? Because it might be from your trauma, maybe when you are still young or when you're growing up, of how you see your parents or people around you handle money that can now affect your own way of thinking. That okay, whenever I have money, then the first thing to do is just go and buy clothes and buy all these things that will make you look rich. And once you buy it, then for the rest of the month you start stuffing again to like make ends meet, bring jama run here and there. And this continues until you sit down with yourself and have people that will people that guy you too dey spend shey you no get siblings that will talk sense into you or a community where you get help to now have a better understanding of how to manage that problem you have in your life. So the first thing is on knowing that you have a problem and working to solve it. And so far we have really done a good deal in explaining that to you. And I'm grateful to be in this conversation in this space today. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
all.
you so much. A round of applause for him. Thank you. Thank you so much. So there's a line that resonated with me when he was speaking. Sitting down with yourself. That's like what I would like to wrap up this conversation with. Most of us are not self-aware. Let me explain it. Wake up in the morning, we go to school when we're children. We stay in school all day. It's time to write. It's time to go home. We go home. We meet our parents. They send us on errands. The day ends. We sleep. The next day, the same thing. We graduate from school. We enter. We enter university. Same thing from your hostel to class back home. Hostel class back home. You graduate. You find a job. You just keep moving. There is never a moment where we actually sit down with ourselves and have a conversation with ourselves. A large percent of people in this world, they don't have it. There's this podcast I used to listen to in 2024, I think 2023, 2024. It's called the Enrollment Podcast. The Enrollment. Now, she coined that word, aloneness. You know, whenever we hear alone, like, let's say a woman is like 30 plus and she's not married, and they be like, you're going to die alone. It's like a threat. So we are also scared of being alone. But the question is, what is wrong with being alone? Now, when we are saying, when we're talking about being alone, it does not even matter whether you are in a relationship, you're married, you're single. That time you have with yourself, your personal time. Most of us don't have that in our lives. We never have that moment where we have conversations with ourselves. We never have that moment where we point out our bullshit. Trust me, if you see my journal, times when I tell myself, girl, you fucked up big time. Like, I'll talk to myself like I'm angry because what's this nonsense? We don't have that. We just keep moving on a like do this, do that, do the next item, and we have social media. That one now makes us very stupid. We now stay online, watch video, TikTok, whatever, sleep. The next day, the same thing. We never have time to like sit down with ourselves. And trust me, if you want to be successful, you want to be powerful, that moment is very important. We always need to have times when we sit down with ourselves. We should not always be occupied like the next thing, I'm watching a movie, I'm doing this and do that. That's times when you actually ask yourself questions. What am I even doing with my life? How old am I? What do I want to achieve at this age that I am? What are some of the things that I've done that I'm not proud of? What are some of the things that I want to do that I'll be proud of? Like, ask yourself questions. Don't just live life on a roller coaster. Because that's, if you want to heal, it's a very important thing. You need to sit with yourself and have conversations with yourself. If not, cycles will keep repeating. He mentioned that don't allow cycles. You keep seeing the same pattern in your life over and over and over and over and over again. You see families, history keep repeating themselves. In this family, children used to, just a random example, girls used to have children at home. Mother did it, sister did it, grandmother did it. Like, it's a repeating circle, and you're like, village people they do them. No, it's not village people. The people in that family have not, most individuals have not tried to sit down with themselves and ask themselves, why is this thing even happening? And how can I make my own life different? So, in order to wrap up this conversation this evening, the first step to healing from your trauma, to even identify your trauma, we need to always make our time to sit with ourselves. We need to have alone time. Time when you ask yourself deep questions and nobody will ask you. Times when you shout at yourself. If you messed up, you tell yourself you messed up big time. Times when you clap for yourself, if you did something you're proud of, you tell yourself, well done girl, well done boy. Because the truth is, most of us, we talk about relationship trauma, most of us are finding love, but you won't find love if you don't love yourself. And the large percent of people in the world, we don't love ourselves. We don't. Trust me. We don't. Because if you love yourself, you will know when something is healthy and when something is not healthy. But with the kind of things, okay, let me just talk about on a very lighter note. There was this story last week of a woman that her husband beats. Do we know about that story? And then after beating her, her face was swollen. And then the next day, she now came out to make a video. And she was reading the script. She loves her husband. My husband loves me. I never regret marrying my husband. I let nobody do anything to my husband. He not intend to beat me. I had a fault in it. You know, she was reading those stories. And I just laughed. I'm like, this woman, it is still within this week that a man burnt his wife and she died. And you've seen this thing. And you're coming out to read this kind of script. Do you think such a person loves herself? To be very honest, most of us, even our parents, have not beaten us like that. My parents have never beaten me to the extent my face is swollen. But then you claim you are in a loving marriage, and then someone batters you like that, and you still claim you love the person loves you, and you think you love yourself. No. So let's all go home and let's have a meeting with ourselves. This is my conclusion. Trust me, when you have that meeting, you will discover your traumas, you will see patterns in your life, you will evaluate your relationships, and you will begin to notice a lot of things that you normally do not notice before. You will just become generally self-aware, and making those amendments will happen. It's just be very easy. So that's all I can say for now. And like I said before, this is a conversation we will keep having. My vision, my goal in life is to make sure that mental health is destigmatized. The stigma around mental health, I don't want it. I want us to be able to freely talk about mental health, our traumas, abuse, whatever we've been through in life, and consciously find healing towards it. So thank you very much everybody for coming to today's session. Thank you very much for coming to the Mutation Monthly Series January edition. Let's talk about trauma. And I really hope this conversation has enlightened us and created an awakening in us. And to our online viewers, thank you so much. A lot of people would have loved to be here. Trust me, there were so many in my DM. Oh, I wish I can come. I wish I can come. Some are in Port Harcourt, Abuja, different locations, and they really wish they can make it down here, but unfortunately, they can't. And they are joining us virtually. So I don't know, technical, do we have any questions or anything in our comment section? Okay, none. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. And please, if you did enjoy today's conversation, I would like to request the next time we're having a conversation like this that you invite a friend. Is that too much to ask for? Trust me, mental health should be our business, everybody's business. I know if this conversation was how to find your dream man, this one will be full because everybody thinks that's their problem, but that's not. We need to heal first. So please let's try to, bring a friend, to tell a friend that we are talking about our mental health because this year, 2025 is our year of healing. After we heal, we will fly. We will soar like eagles. All right, so that's the end of this conversation. I think I don't have any questions or anything else to say. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Thank you, thank you. I think we should say